Hey, what up legends, how's it going? I know we have a long video ahead of us, but Blizzard just dumped all of the remaining cards for Rise of Shadows just now, and I decided I wanted to discuss them and talk about what that all entails. The expansion's coming out on the 9th, that's in about 6 days. I can't wait to play it and I hope it is the same for you. So just before we start talking about the cards, I just wanted to mention I have a giveaway on this channel. I'm giving away a Mega pre-purchase bundle as well as a regular pre-purchase bundles to subscribers on this channel. All you've got to do to participate is be subbed and then leave a comment down in the comment section below letting me know what is your favorite card in this set, since we now know all of the cards, and I'll enter you personally in that drawing. So good luck to you, and let's talk about the cards in the order that they were revealed today. Potion Vendor, a 1-mana 1/1 Battlecry minion that restores 2 health to all its friendly characters. I think it's a much better version of Fungal Enchanter since it costs 2 less, and I feel like there can be combos that are going to be played with that in mind, and I feel like it can have multiple applications. You can either play that to draw a million cards in Priest, or you can play it in Zulok to, to heal your minions and buff your cards and everything. I really appreciate that Blizzard is trying to provide us with better heals, and this is probably one of the best we have in the game at the moment, so that's pretty cool. Next we have Dalaran Librarian, 2-mana 2/3 Battlecry, silence adjacent minions. Sure, everyone remembers the days of Silence Priest. It used to be pretty bad. You'd be playing cards that want to be silenced because they have a pretty bad effect on play, or they just can't attack or anything like that, and such. You would want to silence them. I don't know if it is going to be played, or if anything, if it's going to be more than a tier 2. However, at worst it's a Crocolisk, so it's not too terrible. And well, there are a few cards that were printed in this set that actually combo pretty well with it, so I'm quite hyped to see what's going to happen with that. Talking about cards that want to be silenced, we have a few, including the Arcane Watcher, 3-mana 5/6 already. Those are fantastic, fantastic stats. It's one more than the Ancient. It's got 1/1 on top of it. I think it's fine, to be honest. And you're either going to want to silence that, or if you get spell damage, which shouldn't be too much of an issue because there are a lot of cards that provide spell damage in this set. So I don't believe that is only going to be played in Silence Priest. However, that's probably going to be the most efficient way to do so. Next we have a 4-mana 4/7. That's a lot of stats. Henchclan Shadequill, and it has a Deathrattle of restoring 5 health to your enemy hero. We've already seen that before. Zombie Chow used to do that. The only issue is that Zombie Chow would actually be played really early in the game, and then it would die usually before you deal damage to your opponent. So the effect wouldn't really be that bad. Here, since it's got a lot of stats, you most likely are going to be able to attack your opponent with it and all, and if they do kill it eventually, they will be able to heal. The only thing is that the stats are so good on that card that I don't actually think that the Deathrattle matters there. So I think it's a pretty good card. There are probably going to be a few decks that are going to be playing it. And yeah, I think I'm going to be enjoying that card in Silence Priest, and it sounds like a fun deal. More Priest cards coming. We have Convincing Infiltrator, a 5-mana 2/6 taunt, and it also has a Deathrattle of destroying a random enemy minion. Yes, it's random, but it's still destroying an enemy minion on a taunt. So the card 2/6 taunt, that was Tegodon, that was a 4-cost card. On top of that, you added destroy an enemy minion effect, which, for a random enemy minion, I believe that would be either 3.5 mana or something. That's a very valuable minion, and I actually enjoy it. So I think it's going to be seeing some play. in many different priest decks, which is quite nice. And the next card is a rogue weapon, Waggle Pick. It is a 4-mana 4/2 weapon with the Deathrattle of returning a random friendly minion to your hand, and it's gonna cost 2 less. So it's basically just a weapon, like a 4/2 weapon with a Shadow Step on it. The cool thing about it is that you can set up combos with it while it is also a weapon. Is it going to see some play? I don't personally believe so. There are better weapons that you can use, though it is an extra bounce, and that in a bounce deck can be very, very valuable. So it depends on the deck. I think there might be an archetype that is going to make use of that card. Overall, quite flavorful, and I actually really like it. Plus the art is awesome, so that's always a plus. Next we have Unsleeping Soul. It is a 4-mana spell for priest. It silences a friendly minion, so it adds on to that silenced priest archetype that they've been playing with. And then it summons a copy of the silenced card. The copy is also going to be silenced because it is a full copy, and it actually has pretty nice applications. You can either play it on an Arcane Watcher, you can play it on an Clan Shadequill, or anything else you want, like a giant minion, like a Deathwing or something. You could get an extra 12/12. You know, at a certain point, you could just use it as an extra stat stick on the board to push for damage. Or you could silence something that's been frozen and make a copy of it and just attack with the one that was frozen or something. I don't know. I think it's got pretty nice applications, and I believe that that card could actually see play, since making copies of things is always quite nice. Next we have Soldier of Fortune, a 4-mana 5/6. So it's still playing in that high stat type of minions with a bad effect on it. And this one provides your opponent with a coin every time it attacks. Now, with a minion like that, it's gonna make you feel bad for attacking, but on the other hand, it's not gonna make you feel terrible when you actually lose the minions, so it's not too bad. I believe the only archetype we're going to see this in is probably going to be the Silenced Priest. However, it's gonna have applications, and I can see that being a pretty decent card in Arena, especially as a top deck. So yeah, I'm pretty happy about that, and I can't wait to see what people do with it. That could be, you know what, there could be a deck that is trying to make your opponent fill their hand with stuff. You play that with you know, Mukla and everything that gives your, in odd of course, you give your opponent bananas and you fill their hands and stuff so they mill. This could actually be part of that, and that could be really fun. Next we have Proud Defender. It is the 4-mana 2/6 taunt, which is the stat line of Stegodon. It's not great. However, if you have no other minions on the board, it's gonna get +2 attack. So it kind of feels like a Tark Reaper in a way, and it might be the replacement to Tark Reaper. Against aggro, I believe it is a great card, and I can see that being played in many control decks. I think that's gonna be a very good card. The 10th card we have that was revealed today is Inferno. It is a Warlock spell for 3 that gives all of your demons on board +1 attack, and it also afflicts your opponents with 1 damage to everything on their board, apart from their face, of course. I believe that this is, I think it's just like a 1/2 whammy. Like you just wham them with extra damage, and then if they have minions on the board that you want to get rid of, that's an extra way to deal with that. It's super versatile, and I actually really like the idea behind it. So I can't wait to see what happens with that card. I don't believe it's going to be absolutely ridiculous, but overall, quite a nice card, and I'm super hyped about Warlock in this set. We have Mana Reservoir, 2 mana 0/6, spell damage +1. If you're used to 2 cost spell damage minions, we have a few. They usually have far less stats than this one. That Mana Reservoir is going to stick, and it can do an incredible amount of damage in the right deck. I think it might not see that much play, but there are going to be dedicated spell decks that are going to make use of it, and that's going to be absolutely fantastic. Next we have Magic Dart Frog. It is what we would like to think as a replacement to the old days Flame Waker. Magic Dart Frog deals 1 damage to a random enemy minion after you cast a spell. Now it is not as aggressive as Flame Waker because that damage does not go face, but it is going to help you clear the board. I really like the idea behind that card, and I think one of the first decks that I'm going to make in this expansion is going to be a cheap spell mage deck, and I think that's going to be awesome. Next on the list we have the Magic Carpet. It is a 3 mana 1/6 neutral epic that reads, after you play a 1 cost minion, give it +1 attack and rush. I feel like that is something that we're going to see in Aggro Paladin, perhaps like Secret Paladin or something, Zoolock and Token Druid. I believe that this could be an extremely powerful card, though its stats make it so it's not an immediately good card. You know, if you play it on 3, it's not that good. You'd much rather do, you know, something else, in my opinion. However, I think that it can work pretty darn well in certain situations, and I cannot wait to see someone build a 1 cost minion paladin deck with this in it, and just completely destroy their opponent. That's going to be a moment that we'll see on Trollden or something, and I actually do like the design behind that card. That's pretty cool. Next we have a 6 mana 4/4 demon Mad Summoner. It fills both yours and opponent's board with a 1/1 imps. That works really well with the Inferno we've seen previously. You can play that for 9 with Inferno, clear all the minions on your opponent's board. You have your full board, and all of your demons, aka your entire board, get +1 attack. That's an obvious combo. I don't know if the card itself is going to be a staple in Warlock, but I can see it because of one more thing, which is the next card, Jumbo Imp, a 10 cost 8/8. So basically a giant, and it gets reduced in cost for each demon that dies while it is in your hand. While it is in your hand, so you do have to keep that in mind. It's not, that was played during the game, so you can't trade until that's in your hand. But I do believe that that card is going to make a big change, especially for Zoo, since now you can actually hold that and also have Sea Giants or something, and have a very clear end game. Can't wait to try the Jumbo Imp. I think it's going to be fantastic. Next we have, in my opinion, what seems to be a controversial card. It is a 4 mana 3/3 Kirantor Tricaster. It increases your spell damage by 3, which is ridiculous for a 4 cost card, though your spells now cost 1 more. So I think we are going to see a lot of burst mages in the upcoming expansions. There are so many plus spell damage minions. That one, in my opinion, is the most ridiculous one. And obviously you want to play that with, you know, cheap spells. The problem with that is if you play multiple cheap spells, then you lose a lot of mana with that extra cost. But there are probably going to be ways that we can actually bypass the spell cost. Apprentice, I'm looking at you. Yeah, I feel like there's gonna be someone that is just going to one-shot me on the first day of the expansion with that card and a bunch of cheap spells, and I cannot wait to die to it. It's gonna be great. Next up is Sunreaver Warmage, a 5-mana 4/4 with a Battlecry. If you're holding a spell that costs 5 or more, deal 4 damage. That's something that's gonna be played in Big Spell Mage, in Druid, in like Control Druid and things like that. It is extremely powerful. That Battlecry is awesome. Whether that goes faster on the minion doesn't matter. I think that 4 damage to something is great, and on top of that, you can straight up just clean almost any minion that has been played in the mid game with it. It's pretty powerful. Don't know if it's going to be tier 1, but by itself, as a neutral, it is going to be played in many different decks, in my opinion. Next up, we have Acorn Bear, a 1-mana 2/1 Druid card, and it adds 2/1/1 Squirrels to your hand as a Deathrattle. I think it's really powerful because it literally gives you a turn 1 and 2 if your opponent kills it, of course. But let's say your opponent played a minion, and you play down on your turn 1, they trade, and then you get a turn 2. If you didn't draw one, that is going to be super powerful. I think it is a versatile addition to any Druid deck, especially even more so in Token Druid, as you'll see. But yeah, it's a very strong common card, and I feel like it'll help shape the Token Druid meta, and I kind of like that. The Sunreaver Spy is our next card. It is a 2-mana 2/3, pretty normal stats, except if you have a secret on board, it gains +1/+1. I'm looking at you, Secret Aggro Paladin. I think that's going to be extremely powerful, especially if you have the coin. You know, you play Secret Keeper, play a secret, and then on turn 2 you play a Sunreaver Spy, so that way you have a 2/3, a secret, and a 3/4 on turn 2. Your opponent probably is not going to be able to answer that straight away. Extremely powerful card in certain situations. I really enjoy it. It is definitely one of the strongest 2-drop in the game as of now, and yeah, I'm a little bit scared, I'm not gonna lie. Next up, we have Mysterious Blade, a 2-mana 2/2 Paladin weapon, and if you control a secret, it gains +1 attack. So just like the Sunreaver Spy, it just becomes better if you have secrets on the board. There are many cards that work like that this expansion, which is highly appreciated. It will shape the archetype quite well, and I do enjoy that. I don't know if it's gonna be, you know, played all the time, but it is a bit like the axe for Hunter, where you need something on the board and then it gains an extra benefit. Now instead of being durability, in this case it is attack, so it's a little bit more aggressive. It's the same damage output, though. It's 2 mana for 6 damage. I actually really enjoy it, and I think it's going to see a lot of play. It's basically the new Fiery War Axe of Paladin, and that's quite nice to see. Next up, we have Blessing of the Ancient. It is a 3-cost twin spell that gives your minion +1/+1. Now, if you read it like that, 6 cost +2/+2, it's not that powerful. But the cool thing is that you don't have to do it on the same turn. You don't have to play both at all if you don't want to play both. And it just adds a lot of versatility to token druids. And that's something that it was missing. And I believe that it is going to make the class a little bit more powerful. I really like that card, and I'm sure you guys will get to enjoy it a lot as well, which is great. It is a common too, so I believe we are going to be seeing a lot of aggro druids in the next set. That is for sure. All right, now we get in my favorite territory, the Murloc territory. We're gonna have a pretty powerful Murloc Shaman this set. We have the first card, it is a legendary 4/4 for 4 Scargill, and it makes all of your Murlocs cost 1. Whether you play that on curve and then you have a ridiculous turn 5, or you play that in the late game and you combo with some other cards, it doesn't matter. It is really powerful by itself. And just if you play it on turn, that's my opinion, just if you play it on turn 5 with a Tasty Fin, you can actually cycle the 2 cards you've played, and you get a lot of value on the board. I think that is going to see a lot of play, and I think that's going to be one of the first decks. That with Mage, small spell Mage, I think this is going to be the other deck that I start crafting as soon as I'm in the new set. So that's going to be quite nice. It is helped by the Underbelly Angler. In fact, I believe that the Underbelly Angler is better than Scargill because it literally refreshes the Murloc that you play from your hand by giving you another Murloc when you play one. So you could straight up just play Underbelly Angler, Murloc, you draw one, you play it, you draw one, you play it, and you keep doing that until either your board is full or your hand or you're out of mana, which is quite ridiculous. And on top of that, you can, as a combo if you want, use the new Soul card, Soul of the Murloc. I think it's just a cheaper Soul of the Forest, basically, for Shaman, which is sweet, and it summons Murloc for all minions that die, which is awesome. And it's going to help a lot with the Murloc deck in general, or you could play it in any type of aggro deck that needs a lot of tokens on board. Man, those are Murloc tokens, they'll do the job, and I actually really appreciate that. Next up, we have Mutate. It is an evolve, basically, on 1 minion, and it's free. So instead of being on your entire board for 1, it's just 1 minion, it's free, and yeah, I mean, more evolve, more fun. I stand by that, and I think that's a really cool card. It's not that powerful, but it is really cool. Next up, one of the best hunter card in this set, in my opinion, Rapid Fire. It is a Twinspell card. It deals 1 damage, and guess what? There's a lot of spell power in this set. So you add that with spell power, you can deal, I don't know, if you have +2 spell power, you can deal 3, and then Twinspell, deal another 3. You just dealt 6 damage for 2 mana. That's just ridiculous. Okay, by itself, it's not extremely powerful, but with other cards, you can absolutely change the rest of the game. We might even see, and that's not me just joking, but we might even see a Malygos Hunter, and because of that card, and I think that is going to be just completely ridiculous, and I can't wait to try it. So Blizzard, get on top of your shit, get the game out as soon as possible. I want to play my Malygos Hunter. I'm not even joking. All right. Next up, we have Safeguard, a neutral top minion, 6 mana, 4/5. Right there, you're gonna say, it's not that good. It's a mech. There's some good mech synergy out there. I'm looking at you, Ziliax. And of course, it summons, once it dies, a 0/5. Kind of like Sludge Belcher, even though it's a little bit more expensive, it's got a little bit more attack, though the backside of it is way bigger. The opponent's gonna have to deal with another 5 health of minion to go through, which is also a mech, by the way, so it can get magnetized as well. I don't know, I think it's a really interesting card. I know it's gonna wreck shop on Arena for sure, and yeah, overall a pretty decent card, and I'm pretty happy about it. Next we have another Murloc. It is 1 mana, 1/2 Toxfin. As a Battlecry, it gives another friendly Murloc poisonous. So if you have a 1/1 token Murloc on the board, you just get it poisonous, and you just straight up one-shot big minion on the opponent's side. probably usually going to be a taunt minion, but overall I actually highly appreciate that card. And the last card that they showcased for us on stream, because yes, it was the last stream for the new set, is Ursatron, 3-mana 3/3 Deathrattle. It is Mech, and it draws a Mech from your deck. So you're playing Mech Hunter with Deathrattles. That's actually really good. It is card draw, which usually Hunter's been having issues with. I think it's pretty good. It's not extremely powerful by itself, you know, it's just a 3/3, but in long drawn-out matches, yeah, that card's gonna do a lot of good for you, and I really like it. Next, we enter in the zone of the cards that were dumped onto us and that were not really discussed on stream. A lot of them are just either vanilla or close to be vanilla, and a lot of them also have fantastic effects. We'll start with Arcane Fletcher, a 4-mana 3/3 for Hunter. It reads, whenever you play a 1-cost minion, draw a spell from your deck. You're playing a deck that is really aggressive, and that is my opinion. You could play this in a deck that is super aggressive. You got a lot of cheap minions, right? A lot of 1-cost minions, and you've got a lot of face damage spells, or, you know, like you've got Kill Command, you've got the new Rapid Fire, you have Unleash the Hounds, and all of that nonsense, Animal Companion. You can straight up just draw your very, very powerful spells with Arcane Fletcher. It is extra draw for Hunter, which, yes, is extremely powerful because that's something you usually don't have in Hunter. I enjoy it. And guess what? There's the Spring Paw and the Lynxes and everything that literally are 2 1-cost minions. With that, I think it's gonna do a lot of good for us. Next card is a little less interesting. It is Arcane Servant, a 2-mana 2/3 elemental. It's straight up just a Crocolisk, but instead of being a beast, it's an elemental. It does reduce the powerfulness of elemental decks, or decks that draw random elementals, because it's pretty cheap. Though in an elemental deck on curve, it's not too bad. It's a mediocre card. There's nothing else to say about it. Next up, we have one of the cards I am most interested in this set. I don't know if it works like I think it does, but it's a 5-mana 2/7 Azurite Elemental. At the start of your turn, gain spell damage +2. So if it works like I think it does, which is at the beginning of each of your turns, it stacks on 2 extra spell damage. If this stays safe for a little bit, your opponent's straight up dead. It is going to act after a little while as a Malagos, or 5 mana. Your opponent's completely screwed if they don't get rid of it. So it does have soft taunt. You are going to have to protect it. If you can give it elusive or something, I don't know how you do that, but yeah, I think the card is really interesting, and it could be extremely powerful in a few decks that are going to be relying on that spell damage. Next up, we have 9-mana 9/9 Burly Shovel Fist. It's got Rush. It's not that great. It's a fantastic card in Arena, in my opinion. And that's it. There's nothing else to say about it. Overall, pretty meh in Standard, and pretty good in Arena. I like it. Next, we have Dalaran Crusader. It is a 5-mana 5/4 Divine Shield. Nothing else interesting about the guy. The Divine Shield exists. Divine Shield usually is something that costs 1, so it's basically a 4-mana 5/4 with, you know, with +1 attached to it as a Divine Shield. It's not that good. Again, in Arena, it's probably going to be okay. In my eye, it's a little bit better than the 3-mana 3/3 Divine Shield that we've had, since it's got like the, you know, if we consider that the 1 mana is for the Divine Shield, it's got like 1 extra stat over it. Apart from that, it's pretty much it. It costs 5, it's pretty expensive. I don't really like it. Next we have Daring Escape. It is a 1-cost spell for Rogue, and it returns all friendly minions to your hand. That, my friends, seems like an extremely powerful card. It is essentially a Shadow Step for your entire board. Do you want to do that? Sometimes yes, and that can lead you to crazy situations. Sometimes no. Now keep in mind that it does not actually give you the extra cost 2 less of the Shadow Step. That would be way too powerful. But overall, well, no, I should have said it was like Vanish, but only for your board. Either way, I think it can be powerful in certain situations. I know that we are going to see this in ridiculous combo decks. Yeah, I can't see what we craft with that. That's going to be really cool in my opinion. The next spell on the list is a 6-cost Warlock spell called Darkest Hour. Destroy all friendly minions. So that's a pretty steep price. And for each one, you summon a random minion from your deck. So, A, it sifts through your deck. B, it summons random minions, which means if you're playing a token deck, it's not really interesting because you're just replacing tokens with other tokens. However, there is a situation in which you are not playing that, you're playing token generation, so cards that cost a lot, that create a bunch of smaller minions, and then on top of that you play Darkest Hour, and then you get big minions on the board. I don't know exactly if that's going to see a lot of play. I'm sure there is a good method to playing this card. I'm not seeing it entirely quite yet, but I actually like the idea behind the card, and I can't wait to see what comes up with it. So, looks pretty good. Talking about cards that are pretty big, that actually summon a bunch of small cards that could be really good with Darkest Hour. Eccentric Scribe, 6 mana, 6/4. Deathrattle summons, you know, 1/1 Vengeful Squirrels. It kind of reminds me of the Treshadon that summoned Murlocs, except it's got less health and more attack, which is good for Deathrattle minions technically, and it's cheaper. Don't think it's gonna see some play. It is good with Darkest Hour, but that's pretty much it about it. I actually like the card. I think it could be good in token decks or in arena. I think it's pretty decent too, and yeah, I think it's decent. The next one is, some might say, a meme. 3 mana 5/1. It is a faceless rager. However, its Battlecry is quite interesting. You see, it gains the, well, it copies the health of an allied minion on the board, which means that if there is something that's got 4 health, then it becomes a 5/4 for 3, and that right there is actually pretty good. So at any point there's something with 3 health on the board, for example, you played a 2/3 on turn 2, Faceless Rager actually is value, and that is the first time, in my opinion, that we have seen a Rager actually be potentially decent in the early game and potentially really good in the late game as a, you know, 3 mana 5/8, 5/9, or whatever ridiculous minion you have on the board. I actually like it, and especially in arena, I think that it's gonna ravage a few players. A lot of people are not gonna like it in arena, but I think it can be a powerful card. Next up is the Flight Master, a 3 mana 3/4, and it just summons a 2/2 Gryphon for both players. I don't know if it's that good. It's just a common 3/4 for 3, so basic stats. The 2/2s negate each other, though your opponent gets to attack with it first. So if you have something on your board that you want to trade in the Gryphon, it would be best. I don't know in what type of deck you'd play that, but you know, it's not great, but again, it's not terrible either. So overall, sort of mediocre. Next up, we have a 3-mana 3/3 Henge Clan Sneak, another pig boy, except this time around, instead of being absolutely broken and growing in size when you attack, he's just got stealth. It's not bad. It's an other alternative to the Panther that doesn't die to Consecration. I don't know. I don't see very much. I don't see it being played very much, but could be somewhat decent in a few situations, of course. Next is the Heroic Innkeeper, an 8-cost common minion with Taunt, and it also gains +2/+2 for each other friendly minion. So it's basically a Frostwolf Warlord on steroids, and it's got Taunt, but it costs 3 more. So, in my opinion, as long as you have 3 minions on the board, it's actually pretty decent. I mean, if you only have 2 minions, it's okay. It's kind of like if you were playing an Ironbark Protector, and it's common, so it's a big taunt. I mean, it's neutral, so it's a big taunt. It's not necessarily a druid. I like it. I actually would love to play that in a token deck, even though it's really expensive. But you know, it's not bad. I actually really like that. Next up, we have Hunting Party, a 5-mana do nothing spell. You know, do nothing on your turn spell, except copying a bunch of cards in your hand. So you make a copy of each beast card that is in your hand. If you have big beasts in your hand that you want multiple of, or things that are part of a combo, that's the card for you. I don't see the applications of it quite yet. I'm sure there's going to be a mad lad genius that are going to, you know, that is going to build a deck around this card. Overall, if there are big, important beasts out there that you want in your deck, this could actually help you, you know, like on Dasta or something. Actually, yeah, exactly like on Dasta. If you've got Ondasta in your hand, that card actually is really good. I think it might be good in specific situations, but apart from that, we'll see about it in a little moment. Alright, next up, we've got the Portal Brothers. Portal Keeper, 4-mana 5/2, you shuffle 3 portals in your deck, and when it's drawn, you summon a 2/2 demon with Rush. It's not too bad. Except that the card itself is pretty weak. It's a 5/2, so it's absolutely gonna die. Whereas you could straight up just play its older brother, Portal Overfiend, which is a 5/6 instead. Costs 2 more, and it has the exact same effect. I like this type of card. They work really well together because they got the same effect, and I am assuming that the Portal card is basically just another card that reads, when drawn, draw again, you know? So you're going to get the 2/2 and you're going to draw the other card. So you could play this in a deck that wants to draw a lot, exactly just like the Spider card in Rogue. In fact, it's got Shuffle in it, and it would be pretty decent in Shuffle Rogue. So I actually really like this card, and I might create something around it. I think it's mediocre, but I'm still gonna build something with those two. It's gonna be pretty funny for sure. Next up is the Recurring Villain. We're in the home stretch, only 10 cards left. Recurring Villain, 5 mana, 3/6, Deathrattle. This minion's got 4 or more attack. It comes back. So that is just a card that incentivizes you to buff it, so that way you actually resummon it once it dies and it never leaves the board. And I actually really like that. You play that in a buff deck, or you play that in in type of zoo deck or something like that. That's got cards that buff each other or something. That could do a lot of work, and I actually really enjoyed the design behind that card. Next card is a 2/3/2 Spellbook Binder that reads Battlecry. If you've got a spell damage, you draw a card. That's another one of those cards that want you to have spell damage on the board. There might be a way to build a deck around that whole mechanic. Don't know how powerful it's going to be, but really like the idea behind that. Further on, we have a 2-cost warrior spell called Sweeping Strike. It literally gives a minion damage the minions next to whomever this attacks. So it literally just gives the minion cleave. Not extremely powerful. I would have preferred if that card also made you draw. Though it can make for pretty unexpected board clears. If you've got a big minion on the board that your opponent didn't dealt with, they go wide, and then you just play this, completely destroy them. That could make for a great surprise, and I can see myself play with that card. I actually appreciate that. Next up, we have a 7-cost 3/7 Taunt. The stats are pretty mediocre. However, it deals 3 damage to all minions when it dies. I don't like the fact that it's that big. That it's got that much health. I would much have it be, I don't know, like a 5/4 or something like that. I don't think that's something Blizzard wants to do, because they already had the Abomination, which is, it is eerily similar to. I don't like that card. I don't think it's gonna see play. That's it. Hey everyone, get in here. Underbelly Ooze. It is just like the Grim Patron, except it's got more health and it costs more. But you can combo it quite easily with a bunch of stuff and fill your board with them, and it's pretty nasty. It survives board clears quite easily since it's got more health. I think that card is going to be absolutely busted in certain decks, and I can't wait to play it and make my opponents suffer. Underbelly Ooze. Kind of sad that it also does not destroy, weapons, because it's an ooze, and that's what we know about ooze in Hearthstone so far, but can't always get what we want. Pretty sick card, to be honest, though, so I actually really like that. 5th last card is a Vicious Scrap Hound. It is a warrior mech, 2 mana 2/2, and whenever it deals damage, you gain as much armor as it dealt damage. So if you manage to buff this, cough cough, magnetize anything onto it, yeah, it's going to be quite ridiculous, and the amounts of armor that are going to be gained from it could be absolutely fantastic, and I like it. So that is probably one of my most favorite warrior cards of the moment, with Boom. But yeah, that's a great card, and it's a common, so that's nice. Next up, we have Violet Spell Sword. It's a 4 mana 1/6. It's not that good, and in the same vein of cards as the Drake, has a Battlecry that gains it attack for each spell you have in your hand. If you're playing a cheap spell deck, like cheap mage spell deck, this card could be fantastic. It only needs to have 4 spells to be valuable, in my opinion. 4 mana 4/6 is really good. Yeah, I like that card, and not gonna play it very much, but I feel like in cheap budget decks, this could have, it could have its place. The next card I think is the stupidest card of the set. It is just like Archmage, but it has a taunt. It is Violet Warden. It's bad. You don't want your spell damage minions to have taunt. You don't want your spell damage minions to be that expensive. I understand what they were trying to do. It is much more for the flavor of the card because it's a Warden that lives in Dalaran, so it's also a mage, so it's got spell that I don't like the card overall. Good idea. The card is bad. Next we have the Whirlwind Tempest. It is an 8-cost elemental that, as some of the most ridiculous stacks in the game, your minions with Windfury have Mega-Windfury, which means instead of attacking twice, they'll be able to attack twice. A whole bunch of ridiculous attacks. Good thing it doesn't have Windfury by itself, because that would be busted. The Windfury minions in this game are not quite great, and there hasn't been any in this new set. So it's not that great, and it's really expensive. The implications, though, means that Blizzard cannot make any good Windfury minions for the next 2 years, basically, or else that's gonna be completely ridiculous. I like it. And then the most confusing card of the set, in my opinion, Witch Brew, 2 mana, restore 4 health, repeatable this turn. Is it not just Echo then? Why is this card not Echo restore 4 health? I don't understand. At least that's how I read it. That's how it feels like it should be to me. Maybe there's something I'm not seeing. Overall, the card is quite comparable to the Forbidden Word of Healing we used to have. I think that was in Paladin. Now we had, but instead of being 1 mana for each 2 health, that's 2 mana for each 4 health, so it's less flexible. But you can play it before you play other minions or other stuff in your hands, so it's more flexible that way. I actually like it. I don't think it's going to see a lot of play, but I like it, and it's pretty interesting. And that is pretty much it for the card dump that was given to us today. I'm really sorry this was a really long video. I really wanted to explore all of the cards. I did my best to make it as fast as possible. If I had to pick my favorite card out of all of these at the moment, I would say for class cards, it's gotta be the Underbelly Angler, 2 mana, 2/3 Murloc for a Shaman, and for neutrals, I think I'm gonna go with the Azurite Elemental. I understand the implications behind it. I think it can grow out of proportions extremely fast, and I actually really like it. So let me know down in the comment section which of the 135 cards is your favorite at the moment. Make sure you're subscribed, and I'll enter you in the giveaway for the pre-purchase. Apart from that, thank you everyone for watching, and of course I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.